Thanks for tuning in to another show in the next Reel family of film podcasts.
Want to skip those ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Sitting in the Dark, the podcast where we talk about movies in a calm and professional manner. I'm Tommy Metz III, and usually this is when I would do my uncanny and award-winning impression of the Crypt Keeper, but we have a new guest co-host this episode who we'll be introducing in a little bit, so I won't be resorting to such infantile shenanigans. Instead, we're going to be... Oh, shoot. Okay, that's my post-show calzone flight being delivered. Let me go grab that, and I'll be right back. Don't worry, I have a new podcast friend that can take over for now. Hello, children. It is I, the lead Cenobite, the priest of hell from Hellraiser. And this episode will be legendary, even in podcast hell, which is a place. It's where Joe Rogan lives. But first, real quick, can everyone, stop calling me Pinhead? It's so reductive. I'm the lead Cenobite in the Order of the Gash. I'm a demon to some, an angel to others, and y'all went with Pinhead? Really? Feelings. Anywho, let's keep moving on, for I have such sights to show you. Sights like the razor-sharp line that separates pleasure and pain, and also like a really sweet brunch spot we have down here. It's called Leviathan's Omelet Nook, and it's really fun when it's not too busy. Joining me on this episode are my fellow Cinopals, and that Cino spelled like Cenobite, not cinema. Hell loves specificity. First, we have the devilishly handsome Pete Wright. Hello, Pete. And we are also joined by the Professor of Pain, Kynan Diaz. And brand new to the Dark Sitters is the one and only Chelsea Stardust, who I'm sure is fiendishly rethinking her agreement to join this podcast. And speaking of rethinking, I have decided to let Tommy take over as host because I will tear your souls apart for a lozenge. Am I right? Ow, I just hit my hand on the mic. My throat really hurts. In any case, so many sights to show you. Time to play. Jesus wept. Blah, blah, blah. Have a wonderful podcast. Goodbye. Hi, guys. Sorry about that.
Hey, Pinhead was just here.
Oh, you didn't call him that, did you? He hates
I didn't
that.
say anything. He mostly talked for us,
Yeah,
to be honest.
He's a real chatterbox. Hi. Well, first and foremost, my name is Tommy Metz III, and I would love for the aforementioned Chelsea Stardust to introduce herself. She is a first-time guest on this, and please introduce yourself to the two people that are left listening after all that.
I'm Chelsea Stardust. Hello. So happy to be here. I am a filmmaker, a writer, a director, a producer, not in that order, and a longtime cinephile and a big-time horror film lover.
Outstanding. Do you have, just so we can get an idea, what are one or two, it doesn't have to be your favorite horror movies, but ones that you really gravitate toward?
Just off the top of my head at this very moment,
100%.
I love Frank Henenlotter's Brain Damage is one of my personal favorites.
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
did you see him light up when you said that? That was that was out of control.
But I love so many, the movies that made me want to make horror movies were the Todd Browning Dracula, George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm also a huge fan of Mary Herron's American Psycho and Jennifer's Body and Chris LaMartina's WNUF Halloween special. But it's endless. I have an Alfred Hitchcock tattoo, so I'm a big Hitchcock fan. I just did a podcast all about Peeping Tom, the Michael Powell film.
Yeah.
So
I studied
like
that in
a lot
college.
of things.
I love it. And we'll let you know what tattoo you're getting for the podcast after we're done.
Great,
So
great.
Yeah, there's definitely one.
thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Sitting in the Dark. And this episode is called Rug Pullers. Gross. These are movies that present a basic conceit or game, horror movies, of course, and then pull the rug out from under you to transform into something else entirely. And for this episode, I had the Dark Sitters watch in, let's see, what order should we do this? 1992's BBC One mockumentary special Ghostwatch, which premiered on Halloween night in 1992 and was never shown on the BBC ever again for reasons we'll talk about. the 2022 Zach Cregger's film Barbarian, and then 2023 thriller. Yes, I think it's more of a thriller than a horror movie, but it'll stand it. J.T. Malner's Strange Darling. So, to start, who had seen what, if any? And then we will go, I guess we'll do this chronologically. We'll start with Ghostwatch and we'll start with Axes to Grind. But Ed, who had seen some of these films, none of these films?
I'm 2 of 3. I hadn't seen Ghostwatch, but I had seen the other 2.
3 of 3.
3 of 3.
3 of 3,
Wow.
Chelsea. Oh, I'm going to get Pinhead back here. I'm sorry.
These were new to me, Chelsea. I'm the resident scaredy cat, so I don't watch horror movies unless someone makes me, and then they end up being some of my favorite films. Is how it goes. So I had not seen any of them, and I had not even heard of Ghostwatch.
Fun.
We have
That's
such
great.
sights to show you.
Oh, my God.
So why don't we start with Ghostwatch? This is something that I've had on DVD for a zillion years from this offshoot company called Burnt Offerings. It is the most low budget press play and do nothing else DVD that I've had forever. And then it just came on what? Shudder?
Mhm.
Something like
Yeah.
that? Is that what it's on now? So I was so excited because as I did say last time, last episode, Chelsea, the last time I tried to show this to friends, it was after a night of drinking out at the bar, and they loved it so much they fell asleep instantly. So this is kind of a redemption tour, hopefully.
It was very soothing.
Yeah, it is very kind of like a cup of tea was a ghost. What did you guys think? Do you want to start? We usually start with Axes to Grind, that if there's something that you just want to get out of the way of, you hated this part of it, so then we can talk about maybe what worked, what didn't. Is that right?
Yeah.
How we sort of do it?
Yeah, that's how we do
okay.
it. You've been here before.
I think so.
Yeah.
Pete, what did you think?
Okay. So I worry a little bit because, well, I don't, yeah, what happened?
You know what? Just for the listener, because a lot of people probably haven't seen Ghostwatch, one of the conceits of this is this was a BBC shown on Halloween night, but it was purported to be real. They were going to be investigating a real haunted house, and everyone, including Michael Parkinson, who was a famed BBC host, these were all real people. So it would be like Wolf Blitzer talking about ghosts to a certain extent, and that really helped the verisimilitude. Everyone, and even the comedian guy was like a well-known, Craig Charles was like a well-known comedian and host for things.
And they
Okay,
do that
sorry, Pete, go
all the
ahead.
time on the BBC, is bring in, like, comedians to be hosts and vice versa.
Right.
So
To make
and
references I never get.
exactly. And that's my axe. I think, to really enjoy this movie, it relies on a cultural context that I don't have, right? So I enjoy the idea of what they're doing, but it leans so heavily on early 90s British TV familiarity that some of the beats start to feel slower, less convincing, and that sort of stuff. So what is that, a dagger to grind? It's not a full act.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
the chaos in the third act, like the final 15 minutes where they abandoned the plausible broadcast. I watched the first time I watched it, I loved it. The second time I watched it, it turns hard left. And I didn't realize the first time just how hard it turns. And also, aside from the mother and daughter, there aren't really any character arcs that are worth following here. That's not the kind of movie it is. Who's our big change character? Yeah, it's not the main host. He's just another guy.
Sure.
In a suit. But all of those are they're really very small.
Sure. No, that's fine. I mean, this is definitely the oldest one. But one of the things that I like when you say that it's sort of out of time or outdated, one of the things I love about this movie is, actually, I'm going to dive right in. Can you show us GW1?
Can I? And how?
And this will show up. Listeners, go ahead and look on your phones right now. Shots like this were way ahead of Paranormal Activity. I mean, this was a really early found footage kind of a thing. Okay, you can get rid of it. And so I'm not a classicist, so I generally have a lot of trouble watching something and being like, but back then, how scary. For some reason, this one, I'm able to do that. And I'm able to go through and watch it, like the sheer amount of people that must have been losing their minds.
Yeah.
Watching this, calling into what I'm sure was a dead line, or someone saying it's not real, like this is a War of the Worlds thing or something. But to have fake people get through constantly is really interesting. Sorry, Kynan, Chelsea, what did you guys?
Well, I hear what Pete's saying, right? Because it's in whole different context. But so I sort of had to do that math in my head as I was watching. It's okay, this is Wolf Blitzer, and then I was thinking, oh, this is Caitlin Collins' woman, but really, Sarah Green was a kids host on Saturday morning, so she's more like maybe a Miss Rachel
Interesting.
or something.
Okay.
Yeah. So having Wolf Blitzer and Miss Rachel getting possessed by the devil and falling into like that once you sort of do that work, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So yeah, I'll never fully be part of that world of it, but yeah, it's pretty stunning. I don't have any complaints except the one cultural translation that doesn't work is that the under stairs basement in this case is called the glory hole. So
And they're constantly I
Okay.
think the sound is coming from the glory hole, and you're like,
coming
well,
from the glory
okay.
hole. Oh, mummy, it's from the glory hole,
Yeah.
mummy. Like that.
That's
no
a
matter
shame.
no matter how many mental gymnastics you can't get rid
Yeah,
of.
so we all noticed
Yeah.
that then. Good. All right. Good. We all noticed that.
I love this movie. It's oddly enough, I know I mentioned this at the top of the recording, but I actually saw Chris LaMartina's WNUF Halloween special first, which is greatly influenced by this. That came out in 2013. Same sort of style. It's about hosts, but it takes place in 1987. Hosts of a news show going to a house there's possessions happening, something's going on there, and it's intercut with commercials, so it should look like something you recorded off of your television. And they recorded it on VHS and then dubbed it 100 times to give it this incredible feeling like it was made in 1987 when in
Copy of
fact
a
it was
copy
made in
of a copy.
2013.
Yeah. Oh,
Copy
that's
of copy.
great.
It's incredible. So then when I saw this, I thought, oh, now I understand. And it's interesting. This movie is making this sort of comeback now. It was lost for a long time, and now we're getting things like Late Night with the Devil that feel like this too. So all of a sudden everyone's talking about it. I think since Shudder has made it available to watch. But I'm such a big fan of it. I think it's so smart, and just the whole idea of people absolutely thought this was real and actually happening. And I heard the number was a live number, but then but obviously the people on the recording are actors, but people had to say like, oh no, and it caused this whole phenomena of people thinking this was actually happening. When you think about it, like in the early 90s, if you didn't know, or even have been exposed to as many even genre things as we are here too. And also think about the people that are probably watching the news at that time. And to see the actual, like you were saying, like Wolf Blitzer or something, to see the actual people who run the news there, and you just would believe them. And so there's no reason to not. I just think it's so brilliant. I just think it's very smart filmmaking. And then of course we see so many things from this movie and things like The Conjuring and so many other movies. But I love that people are recognizing it. It's getting the love I think it deserves.
Yeah, the thing I had read about the phone number that you call, and so they flash that a couple of times at strategic points in the night, is that because I've never called into a TV show, but I have called into the radio, to try to win contests back in the day. So what I read is that you would call, and of course, most of the time you get a busy signal. So on this night, people were getting busy signals, and that was just adding to their fear of like, oh my god, which is just, like, that's so fun. So there's a lot of fun here, but I also genuinely found it to be an unsettling film. And even though it's like the goofiest of the three, like it's not as gory. There's no gore at all in it, but this was the one that really sat with me as I was watching these three films. And I think there's something about, just the form of it, of being like live TV, like it feels visceral. And all three of the movies take place basically in a house of some kind, but this was the one that made me, like, as I was watching it, like, think about my house.
Right.
Like, oh God, like I'm watching a house on TV, and it feels like the camera is turned around on you when you watch Ghostwatch somehow.
I think one of the things, this is my thought about that is one of the things that I think is my favorite thing that it does is we're ahead of who's supposed to be the smartest people in the room. We're ahead. The first time we showed GW1. That's actually not the first time we see the cold open. The cold open of the house I'm sorry, not the cold open of the shot of the daughters. There's no form there.
Right.
But then people call in and say, we saw a form. They pretend to replay it, and now the form is there. What they've done is so we're already losing our minds because when they put it up there, they don't go in America. They would go, oh, I see. Yes, there's clearly this face in this form. They're like, maybe this part of the thing. I would be screaming at the TV. There's a figure there. There's like, they let us be ahead of them. And one of the things that it's doing is the very first thing when they ask the woman, Dr. Lynn Pascal, the person pretending to be, she says, what do you want us to do? Like, how should we be going and meeting this family and treating this? And she says, the first thing we can do for a start is to believe them. There's no figure in the room. People call in and they say, I see a figure. They re-show it. Now there's a figure in the room. We've already started the seance.
Yeah.
By believing them, we're giving the spirit all of the power that it needs. It's like we are willing it to life. And then to hear about kids, dogs going crazy, kids, whatever, Halloween, that silver shamrock or whatever it is, like kids are like staring at the screen, refusing to go to bed, that you can just sort of see this idea tumbling, that the third act does go off the rails, but it's got a neat slow burn. And it makes, Kynan, to your point about looking around your own house, this is a very told out of order slightly because we're getting information from different places, but it's a very traditional ghost story of just someone having an unpleasant end and potentially unfinished business with kids in the house, whatever that creep wanted to do. Yeah, I just think it's really ingeniously put together.
It really is. And this is by no means an original point, but I think the format itself as a narrative weapon works so well watching it in hindsight, because there was no meta channel that we could tune into that was any faster than the news we were watching at the time. Right? Like, do you remember, just as a thought experience, do you remember what it was like to watch the news, a station, and trust it? Like, do you remember what that was like? Honest to God, I don't. Like, it's so much work to just...
Such a distant memory.
Such a distant memory. But this was a time where what they showed you was, I mean, you could make an argument, if our friend Matthew Fox was here, might make the argument that this was, that there is a severe ethical question to the BBC making the choice to do this, just as there was for War of the Worlds. The difference is they know the experience of the havoc that War of the Worlds cost, and they still chose to make this thing, right? The escalation that builds into tone for an audience whose guard is already so dropped. Like, I think it's diabolical, and that realism is the hook. I mean, that's the thing to celebrate on this movie. It's amazing.
I remember there was a lot of controversy when they started using in movies like, let's say, War of the Worlds, but way before then, that they would farm out CNN hosts to do fake news reports about stuff. But then at some point, everyone was like, everything's a lie. Anyways, yeah, I feel like a much lesser version of this would have said, we found this house where this guy was found dead and eaten by cats. And then we'd start hearing scratches, and then but instead we are told, the first thing we see is the stigmata is we don't know they're cat scratches, that she's accused of doing her own. Then the sound guy says, can you hear that? I think there's an animal trapped in the walls. And it's only later that it becomes cats. It's just all this slow build. It's like hearing a campfire, which is really scary. I mean, there's something very childlike about it. And to have children in there having those kind of experiences is really scary. What did you think about the inclusion of, there's a fair amount, speaking of Campfire Tales, of allusions to children's story, traditional children's stories, children's rhymes, Round and Round, The Garden. it's and the full one is round and round the garden like a teddy bear, one step, two step, tickle you under there, which I do not care for.
In the
But
glory
that's
hole,
usually
is
when
that
you
where
tick-
it is?
Yeah, but you tickle them under the arms, like in their armpit. That's the
Yeah.
tickle you under there. But that's said a couple different times. The older daughter says, what big eyes you have, when she's in her weird voice.
Mhm.
At the very, very end, Michael Parkinson himself, once he's just wandering around the studio, says fee fi fo fum. Do you think that's just like, did that do anything for you? I think that brings more of this sort of mythical, childlike campfire thing for me.
Well, especially on Halloween, fear for the children.
Well, that's really interesting. Like I was thinking about the kind of peek into the world of reality TV we get when we see the oldest daughter and we think that she's made the whole thing up, right? There's this really, really good all is lost thing where, oh, we've just wasted 8 years of her life or whatever this is following this. But there's this really cool close up of her like burying her face in her mother's arm and saying like, isn't this what you wanted? Isn't what
Right,
they
we
all
gave
wanted
you
was
what you
to put
wanted.
on
Yeah.
this show, to be the scared little girl. That's really effective. And then you're worried eventually about like, oh, maybe, it's weird. Like you believe that there's a poltergeist, but I really believe that moment too. Like, because of the way the camera is like peeking around corners and like half seeing things, it really feels caught and not like engineered. So for a while, in that moment, it is about like, what is expected of children, right? And what's expected of children in a horror movie, and isn't this all fun? Like, well, here we get to meet Wolf Blitzer, we get to meet Michael Parkinson and Sarah Green, and and it's because I am playing the victim. That's really, really unsettling.
Yeah, and I think the idea that they want to be believed so desperately. She's like, I just wanted you to see, I just wanted you to see. And I think the sort of the nursery rhyme aspect kind of is bundled in with the like telling of ghosts, like people calling in and telling these ghost stories. And it's something that's like sort of universal. Like everyone has a story to tell, whether they experienced it or had heard this story. Obviously, as someone who grew up with like scary stories to tell in the dark, you can even trace the origins of some of those stories and how far back they go. And I think that's something that makes this so universal in a way, because I love when people are calling in to tell these things they experienced. I think that's really because it also says, oh my God, I think it starts a conversation like, oh, have you ever experienced anything like, and I love that sort of communal aspect that this movie that it brings to this movie.
And that's the power that feeds the beast. Like we all, with our belief, with our shared conversations, is we allow the ghost to get in the machine. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's I think the secret to all three of these movies is the scripts hinge on making us believe that we know the movie we're watching. Right? They all speak a language, a different language, but they all speak a language that we have already internalized. And the rug pull in its own unique way is the thing that he said it.
He said it.
The rug pull is the thing that's unique. How they do it is unique. And in this case, it's the format, right? Like the movie is the broadcast. The reality break happens kind of inside a familiar container, a container we trust. I think that's the most interesting thing about this. Like it's already speaking a language with which I am fluent.
Right.
And the messiness of the narrative, like Chelsea's talking about these stories that are being called in, and they feel as random as a live, half planned out not documentary, news magazine show, right? Like so in a less confident group of filmmakers, like if I were doing it, each of the stories would have thematic resonance, right? All of them would tie, they would all know Mr. Pipes and all, right? And they would all be there for a reason. But instead there's this awkwardness, this weirdness. Some of the stories are really affecting, some of them are not, or they're funny, or Parkinson seems to half cut them off. And like that whole vibe of awkward haphazardness. I love when we have eventually 6 characters in this tiny house, or a regular size house, but tiny for a movie. And like if one of them needs to get from one room to the other, they all have to go you first. And it's like all this like wasted time cinematically, but it feels again like I need to come up with more synonyms for real, but it feels so genuine and like vulnerable, right? Maybe I'm feeling vulnerable because like, no, while you're doing all that and you're not lined up perfectly, the thing's gonna get you. Right? Well, you have to figure out how to get through the door, all six of you together. There's a poltergeist in here, y'all.
Right. Pete, if you bring up GW2, that the clearest before the glory hole opens, the clearest view that we get of Pipes is just the camera panning real fast because they're just looking for what's her name. And so, and then it zooms back in, it's gone. And that cameraman, being a good cameraman, doesn't tell anyone because he's not sure what he saw. But yeah, but I mean, again, you are losing your mind at home. Yeah. Everyone is just like taking teacups and eating them. I don't know what British people do. I assume that's what they do.
I want to shout out just the BBC and the production team because it's like it's natural to watch a show like this and have it and believe that it's half planned out. But, you know, I spent a lot of years in television news, and you guys, it's really hard to like actually look half-assed. And this movie does it really well. Like you want to, like looking half-assed is the reality of trying to control everything. When you try to look half-assed, it's a disaster. So I think this is a real testament to smart production and everybody understanding, you know, the assignment, for lack of a better word. Like they knew what they were trying to get. I think everybody was bought in, and it makes it a really satisfying watch.
Yeah, and these are journalists and TV personalities, and the kind of brave, it's hard to play yourself. You're talking about it's hard to look half-assed, like you naturally more polished. That's one of the things you do in acting class is just to walk as yourself. It's one of the hardest. It's, if you haven't tried it, it sounds simple, right? But it's like walk the way you walk. It's impossible. And for them, they're playing versions of themselves. And yes, these people have a history and an ease about playing aspects of themselves as their personas, but now you're magnifying this. And so, okay, to jump to the end, of like one of them gets possessed by the devil potentially, but like one of them watches his real life wife go into the murder glory hole and never come back. And we've seen like real life people play themselves and like in a marriage or something, it's for laughs or something like that, but like I don't know how I would do that. Like these aren't actors doing this, and this is a hard acting assignment, I think, to watch your wife die on camera while you're in the studio. Like,
how do you play that?
Very difficult. How do you play that, right? Using your real names and everything, and having talked about, oh, I'm at home with the kids, tonight. Ugh, icky.
Yeah.
Really icky.
And there's my last thing about it is the idea of when everything seemingly goes back to normal. And we're seeing a kind of a new angle that we haven't really seen. And the reason that angle is there is so we can be ahead of them again and see that the picture's back on the wall, that things aren't broken. And that's when they get the call of the vampire, the anonymous caller that explains about the subletting the room to the nephew, to the glory hole, to the, what is it, quote, they got hungry, they got to work on his face. Yeah. But then it all breaking down in that weird scream. And then the footage goes back to what it was and starts like replaying the idea of being in that house and not, I don't know what I'm saying. The idea of being trapped in a haunted house and we think we know what's going on there and that people are safe and we have no idea. We're not allowed to see it anymore. Using the device, the one thing that they had up their sleeve was everything is wired so we can see it. We're finally going to bring this to life. And when that fails you, I mean, it's a betrayal, but it's an incredible betrayal.
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking about like TV theory as opposed to like film theory. Chelsea, I'm a professor, if they didn't tell you that. so like thinking about like film, like, but thinking about like TV theory, like I was thinking about that a lot as I was watching, like, why is this so effective to do it this way as opposed to a movie where you're following the news crew from behind you could also do that, right? But like watching it, there's this idea in TV theory that's called flow, and unlike a movie, TV just flows from one program to the next or one segment to the next, and that they're really using that really well here, where we're having the start of a conversation, between Parkinson and the doctor on air. And it's like, well, we have to move on. And it's not like, oh, and she's kind of like, oh, and then we're kind of like, oh, and it's not because we've hit some narrative beat, it feels like to us. It just the natural way that television works. Like, it just arbitrary, this segment is 4 minutes, 28 seconds, as Pete might know, right? Like, that's exactly, that's all we have, right? And we just got to move on. And if we're not done with that story beat, tough, and you just have to sit with that in your gut, and it makes you feel, no, that's terrible, it's awful, there's something unsettling again, there's something unfinished about it, and it just keeps on doing that. It's like, we have to cut to Sarah, why? I'm interested in this, no, we have to cut to Smithy. And so I think that's a really interesting use of that television idea that I really haven't seen used before like this.
I love that. Yeah, and it's also undercutting them in that he's even shutting down like the phone bank. Sarah's husband is saying, no, we don't have time for your weird thing. Yeah. And they're just jumping around, and then they'll cut to something that isn't ready. So then they'll go back. I mean, it feels
cut to the
incredibly
jokester
live.
on the street, just trying to talk to some camera guys and grips and stuff.
Right.
It is a funny thing. Just my last stupid comment. Like I was watching. I try to watch these on the headset. Right. I'm trying to watch them on the big screen. I couldn't on this movie. It looks really weird. Right. The bigger you get, the stranger it looks. Like, it is most at home in its native format, which is on TV. I think that makes it an interesting artifact of just sort of horror history. I really enjoyed it.
That's great. Oh, I'm so glad. If you want to, you can show GW3 just for fun as we're leaving. It doesn't really pertain to anything, but that's who's waiting inside the glory hole.
It gives me Butterball vibes.
It really, totally. It really is. And I do love, like, BBC. They were like, oh, we just got a guy. There's just a guy standing in there. They didn't like blow out their budget or anything. Like, they're like, we're gonna have Sparks over here, so just show a guy. Show a guy. Okay, so then let's move on to our next pulled rug. It's really catching on. This is Barbarian, directed by Zach Kreger. His current movie Weapons is out. And what do you guys think? When did you see that? I saw this. This was a big, I think, pandemic movie, if I remember correctly. And Hulu scored it. And yeah, what do you guys think? Because I remember, but I saw this in the theater because I remember at 42 minutes and 22 seconds when the impossibly tall mother runs shrieking out of the darkness, destroys a head, and then screams, and it cuts to black.
Yeah.
I've never felt so much silence in a movie theater, and then a mixture of laughing and but not like that didn't work, but just like, wait a minute. Yeah. And one guy said, I think a rug has been pulled. No,
and he said it in my own voice. How did
it's so weird. And he lives in my mirror. What do you guys think about Barbarian? If you want to start with Axes to Grind, anything. Chelsea, why don't we start with you? Can I throw you in the deep end?
Yeah. Many thoughts, y'all. Many thoughts. So I did see Weapons, which obviously we're not talking about that movie, but a lot of things I like that movie much more. Okay. So, oh man. Okay. So since we're getting into kind of like when you say Axes to Grind, this is just a personal thing. I have very conflicted feelings on old women as monsters. And that is a trait we are seeing so often from male directors. We're seeing that a lot. He did it again in his latest movie. And so, spoiler alert. But at least in that, it's played by a older woman. So that to me is, I was like, and it's by an actress who I absolutely love. So I was like, okay, you know what? That gets a pass from me. It's very, clearly there's some trauma there. I understand that. Because we're 2 for 2 now, so working through some shit. I do think he's a really talented filmmaker, but I think sort of my biggest issues are, first, protagonist Tess makes awful choices, it's really hard to get on board for and care about any of these characters. So because of the choices they make, our second protagonist, incredibly just an awful like person, which is AJ, Justin Long's character.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third protagonist, the minute you cast Richard Brake, everyone knows he's a bad guy. Unfortunately, he never gets to play the like loving dad. So right off the bat, there's like no one. You know what? I'm sympathizing with like Mother. That's who I'm end up sympathizing with, which is maybe the point. But and also the like misdirect, which I love the misdirect with Bill Skarsgård, because again, everyone knows, you know, him as Pennywise and most recently Nosferatu. So it's like I get, you know, that it is a misdirect in itself. But I have a real hard time getting on board with any of these. I just don't care about what happens to these people. That's my biggest issue, is because of the choices that they make, and maybe that's the point. But that's sort of my, and this is my second time seeing it, because I did see it in the theaters and then just rewatched it for this. Because also, anytime there's a movie that I'm not, and I love lots of movies. I can find something great in every movie. So if there's something I didn't like, I want to give it a second chance, you know. And there's a lot of stuff I do like about this movie, but I was like, yeah, you know what, Mother, like, go for it. Like, do what you need to do. I'm here for it. But that's the like stuff that sort of sticks out to me of like, these are my notes. But that's me. I'm like, sort of when I was compiling my thoughts.
I think it could be really interesting. Like oftentimes when they create a monster like that, who, you know, is othering some subgroup, like oftentimes we reframe it as like them as the tragic hero, right? So King Kong, Frankenstein, whatever, you know. And it's interesting, like Babadook, like that could happen with Mother if it weren't a rug puller movie. I think, like you can't tell people like that Mother exists in this entire movie until 42 minutes in, like you're saying, right? So I wonder if that's maybe what's keeping that back, because I agree with you, like you saying, like, oh, like maybe we're supposed to feel with Mother. I think certainly by the time we get to the very, very end of the movie, I feel a lot for that character. Yeah. So, but I wonder if that's holding it back, because like, how do we talk about this movie to anybody except like, hey, see it first, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that, Kynan, is that your shared axe?
No, I don't have any. I understand Chelsea's axe about like, oh, the old woman, the crone, this, you know, an old woman who is. I was often with their sexual is the reason we don't like them. She's not even sexual. She just doesn't have clothes on. It's like, it's scary. Yeah, there's something wrong with us as a society that we keep going back to that. But I didn't have any axes at all. And to answer Tommy's question, I watched this at 5:30 in the morning at like the last possible minute, because I've been so afraid to watch this. And it was really terrifying. Just edge of my seat the whole way through.
I'm gonna pile on the Mother characterization, only because you know, I think they actually built a really interesting sort of story with the backstory. I had no problem with the Richard Brake backstory. I had no problem with all of that. They built this story that this is a genetic sort of you know, tragic genetic accident that they keep doing these horrible things and creating this person that, but as soon as she veers, you know, we veer into this creature caricature that weaponizes motherhood in a way that is like the breastfeeding stuff, like that. It all feels a little bit hollow to me. Like she's scary, but I kept thinking, what if they had gone more the Texas Chainsaw Massacre route, where you have this like real human character who is horrible and not this CG monster. I don't know. It just, that part feels a little thin for a movie that I really enjoy. Like this rug pull works great for me. Yeah. The more I see it and think about it, the harder it is for me to really adapt to Mother as Mother's sort of production design, right? I don't feel it. I think you're absolutely agree. I really feel for Mother. She's the sympathetic character in this whole thing. But yeah, Tom, sorry.
I feel all of those things. I personally disagree. I think she needs to be monstrous because one of the things in this movie is one of the rugs that are being pulled. And Chelsea, for the record, I gave them a choice between rug pullers and game changers. They chose rug pullers, they said, because it'll make you
This
sound
is
stupid. You can go back and listen to that in the last episode. So I am leaning into it. It keeps redefining what is the barbarian and levels of barbarism.
Yes,
that you believe that you know what the barbarian is once Mother comes out, and you are wrong. That the barbarian really is Frank, the guy that has lived there forever, that has lived there since the Reagan era, as white flight was starting to take hold and destroying Detroit from within inside. He had already started this entire horrific kingdom. So
he ain't never leaving this place, he says.
Never leaving this place. And she is known from, I mean, we really only meet one other person, the unhoused guy that seems to know. But I mean, he's talking about this crazy woman that lives in the house. If that was just a normal woman that was just someone that was just caught, I don't know if that would have the ramifications or even have the horror of what has been going on in this one house.
But as that character says, though, you're worrying about her, but she's not even the worst thing in that house, is what he tells Tess. He's dragging her away. And you're like, what could possibly be worse than this thing in the tunnels? And I don't know. I wasn't counting, and again, I only watched this a couple hours ago this morning. but how many rug pulls are there? And each of them really worked for me. But it's like 5 or 6 times where you're like, this is a whole other thing than I thought it was. Like, it's exactly what you put on the tin, Tommy. It's exactly what you said.
I mean, for the brief of like rug pullers, this one is layers upon layers upon layers of twists and turns, and it just sort of speaks to the writing of this film, which, you know, even from what's happening with Justin Long's character to him, like, oh yeah, admitting it, like he is a piece of shit, like that, like everything along the way. And oh my gosh, like instead of seeing these weird rooms in the house, he thinks, oh, more square footage. Like,
that's so funny. Oh my God.
All those layers so this like fits your brief so perfectly because of how many they just keep coming. And I do love the like unpredictability of this movie too.
Well, and this goes back to the fact that the rug pull really in this movie is genre again, because it's telling us that we think we know what we're watching because we know horror genre. We have genre literacy in this space. But the fact that it keeps changing the kind of horror it is, we've all seen the creepy roommate story, and I think the principal characters in the first sort of episode are cast so perfectly together. Skarsgård's so tall, she's shorter, like it feels threatening. You think we're sort of in her perspective. Of course we'd be afraid of this guy, and then it becomes kind of a romance, which builds the stakes. Holy crap, now it's even more threatening when it turns out he's going to be the bad guy. And then he's not the bad guy. Like, it just again and again and again. I kept thinking about Sorry to Bother You, which wasn't a horror movie, but the rug pull in that movie is crazy. But that's the level of just jarring twist that I'm sort of brought to here.
Yeah, with this one, so it's a relatively cheap film. It's like a $4 or $5 million movie, but that opening sequence is so elevated. It's elevated horror, so it makes us feel like it's already subverting genre. It's like a reverse. Oh shoot, what's that genre that you did of the people who break into your house? Home invasion, right? It's like it's a reverse home invasion horror, and we're already like playing with that. And now we have to share this house together, and like she's intruding on him, but he's intruding on her. And that's not what we're actually doing. So one of the ways I think that it tricks us into not being prepared for, oh, we're really in a People Under the Stairs movie, is that we think that, oh, these are intelligent filmmakers, are clearly so skilled that they're already playing with the genre that we think it is, right? And so that we don't ever see the slam. And you know, we keep going back and forth with it, where Tess is going down and finding more rooms, and the Skarsgård's there, and you're really just convinced that he's going to turn out to be the villain at any time until he can't be anymore. Like, you're up until like that moment, you're really convinced, like, oh, like he's leading her down here, don't trust him, he's faking, like all of that stuff, even up until his very last shot.
And I want to not push back. That's a terrible word to use, but I think the movie does take pains to make Tess. She does ultimately make some rough decisions, but the most rough of her decisions come from the fact that she, unlike most of the other characters in this movie, suffers from empathy. She can't not go try to help people, even people that have been so horrible like AJ, that she can't just leave people behind when other people are thinking about square footage. Other people are just trying to get out. Cops are thinking whatever they're thinking. That I think what a lot of this movie is about, that if there's another real dungeon in this movie, it's so much of a comment of the different levels of misogyny that women have to be immersed in all the time. And because we see many levels, we keep going down, that it starts with Skarsgård, who is legitimately sweet, but because of the situation, the situation makes it dicey. Tess, that's a pretty name. You don't say that to someone that you've just met, that is now in your house, making her a cup of tea after she says she doesn't want it, twice saying not up for discussion. He's a nice guy for a guy, but even he's not great. You know what I mean? When she asked to see his confirmation, he says, what, in that great long shot where you see just how tall he is? Oh, in case I'm some sort of weirdo who's broken in here to sleep. Yes. That there's such a level of male privilege drenching this film that I find it, I mean, that's sort of, if you want to be pretentious, that's the real horror story. And she says it straight up. Do you know, if these roles were reversed, do you know how scary it is? And this is really echoed in Strange Darling too, in a way that is, again, subverted. But the horrors of just being a female in general life, you don't need monsters. And then this movie still gives us a monster.
Yeah, I think they're trying to explain away this. I'm sorry, but like no single woman would ever go into this house. And I understand the like disbelief, but like you would never. There's like we spend every day trying to not get murdered in our everyday life. So like we live in fear every day. No world would anyone ever step foot. So the minute she walks in that house, you lose me. If you're like, hey, my cousin's friend is staying here. If it's like, oh, maybe if it's a friend of a friend that maybe someone vouched for them, a total stranger, no fucking way. Like, I'm sorry, but so you lose me the minute she walks in the door. I was like, this is the bad choice.
If she doesn't go in the door, she doesn't live long enough for me to complain that she would never survive falling off the water tower.
100%.
Chelsea, do you see what I'm saying?
100%. But I used to leave in my car. I would go somewhere else. There's just no way. And he does what Tommy was just saying about he does say, do I look like some kind of monster?
Right.
So that's like one of the lines.
Yeah.
And he does. He looks like a sexy monster because he's Bill Skarsgård, but he looks like a monster.
Absolutely. But they are definitely addressing that in that line. There's just, and that's why I'm like, okay, we're going to make bad decisions. Okay, got it. The door is open to the bedroom, but you know what? I'm still going to stay here. I'm going to stay. It's fine. So I just like, whew,
I actually thought about that going into it, because when the door was open, she could see that he was still asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
Like she could see it. So of course, there are so many other reasons that weren't him at that point to get out of the house. And she didn't. But I think for me, the reason the movie works is because I know they're terrible decisions. And it also does a good job of presenting characters who I believe also know they're making bad decisions. But they don't quite understand their own motivation, like the stakes, right? They don't get it. Why am I going down here? Why am I going into this horrible closet in the basement? But then you find her, she's like, she can't resist. I can't argue with that. If there were a mirror and a light and a thing, and I could kind of jury rig this thing to make it work, I would be curious enough to go in here too. I hate that about myself. I want to think that I would get the hell out of there, but I don't think I would. I think I would make bad decisions too. And I think that's one of the things that is successful about this movie.
She really needs her sleep for that job interview at the Empathetic Woman Factory the next
So
morning.
You're
empathetic.
so right. You're so, that's my, okay, my bad. I'm wrong. You are correct. This is
Yeah. She has
absolutely.
to live for jazz.
She has to
Or
live
whatever
for
What do you guys think of the name of the movie?
It is interesting in a way that is so open-ended that I could feel myself kind of being like masturbatory as I'm trying to figure it out. You know, like
Now we're getting going.
like
Yeah.
because they're on Barbary Street, right? And they're like, what's that about?
476
And
Barbary
then-
Street. Yep.
Yeah, and then I'm like, oh, the Barbary pirates, and they're pirates, and the Detroit's decay, and these people with the Airbnbs are coming. But no, none of that's here, right? It's a nonsense word, right? It doesn't
think
mean
it can-
anything, right?
It doesn't just mean like ruffians. The traditional
Right.
way that you assert is it's a member of a group of people from a very different country, or culture that is
Mhm.
considered to be less socially advanced and more violent than your own. That's what this movie gets. You get more and more. And sometimes in the horrific romantic comedy drama version that AJ is in, you know, he is of a lower class. Like he's immediately mean to his mom. He's using the word effing B all the time, up and down. He admits to his friend, who is Zach Kreger, in the
Mhm.
bar, that I'm a really persistent dude. Eye of the tiger. Gross. What are you
Gross.
talking about? Yeah. I mean, you're seeing these levels of the degradation of people. And then that tremendous, my favorite part of the flashback to Frank is seeing how beautiful that neighborhood was.
Yeah.
How
Mhm.
incredibly Kurt Braunhauler coming out in his weird little neighbor shirt and talking about the beginning of the flight, all of that stuff, that just seeing it just go down into chaos.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
One other thing I like so much about this movie, but the very, very, very first thing we see our hero do is she literally misreads the situation. She's looking at her phone and mixing up 8331 for 8831. I just think that's a fun little thing
Yeah.
to start us off of,
I
like,
didn't catch that.
you're already getting, she does make, I think, bad decisions, but with a lot of, she doesn't drink the tea, she doesn't drink the wine, she does a fairly good job of, I'm already stepped into this house, so I'm not going to just like immediately roofie myself, but she, but the idea of just starting off on the wrong foot is just a fascinating way to do it.
I like that she's making, we get to watch her make a ton of good decisions with the exception of the first terrible decision.
Right.
Everything
First
else
10 or 11 terrible
Right.
decisions.
But then she's actually, then she pulls it together. If only she could have pulled it together outside the house. Well.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about how Kreger wrote this, because with these rug pulls that you're talking about, Tommy, it's like, well, how do you do this? Do you know, the cliche of writing a mystery by figuring out the solution and working backwards or what have you. And Kreger says he did the exact opposite and just did what you tell every screenwriter not to do, just start at the beginning and then just see what happens. And he says that's how he got this crazy sort of thing of like, oh, I don't like this movie anymore, let's change it. and then obviously, of course, he went and rewrote those things to work it, but like an improv, you know, a long form improv show that he just goes and continues on writing. Because I don't know how you come up with the, you know, last 3 or 4 revelations by working backwards. Like it just has to be kind of fever dreamy, it would seem.
Yeah, knowing that, it might be putting a head on a hat for me to say that checks out. That's exactly what it feels like watching it. Yeah.
I'm saying it's a good
No,
thing.
me
Maybe you're
too.
saying it is.
Me too. No, I feel that sort of improvisational nature to it, and
right.
I tend to like those kinds of movies. I like all kinds of movies, but these kinds of movies I think appeal to me because I'm on my heels the whole time. Right, the first time I'm on my heels, I never get sure footing again, and this movie does that for me.
Yeah, it's a big, bold swing, and I think it works for like 90% of people. Like I know people love this movie, so it's like it's pretty ballsy, like a move, like to do all of that and to keep it up. And I also love, you know, it's 100 minutes. Like I'm all about make movies shorter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it moves, so yeah, it's a pretty bold move that I think paid off.
And which makes sense that everybody passed on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Until
Probably because of the protagonist in the opening.
it was their biggest thing was, I don't want to spend time with this date rapist for so long, but he's a really key part of the movie. And I think of a deeper understanding of the movie, and that taking the time to show him in what he thinks is his horror movie is losing a pilot, getting outed in the Hollywood Reporter, which doesn't even exist anymore, really. All of these things that his life is a horror movie. And then he finds out what real horror is for other people, sometimes all the time. For like what you were talking about, Josie, for like being afraid of being murdered, being hurt all the time. As everything is turned completely. All right, should we go to our third and last?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Strange Darling, directed by J.T. Molyneux. Sumptuous photography by the DP Giovanni Ribisi. Yes, that Giovanni Ribisi, which I didn't see coming. Axes to Grind, thoughts. Again, this movie, a lot like all of them, but this movie is really about assumptions and preconceptions. What did you guys think?
Well, it works great for your show. A lot of my students really love this. I want to be kind to it. JT Molnar is a Las Vegas filmmaker. I'm from Las Vegas. I respect that. It just was not for me. And it's so structured and it's so engineered, right? Which of course is its strengths. That's the reason we're talking about it. But for me, all I could kind of see was the movies it's aping, Tarantino, and that kind of thing. So I might have to come back to this one and take a look at it again, because it is so well made and so well acted, and my God, gorgeously shot and edited. I think I need another look at this one in a little bit.
Sure. Thank you for your service. Pete, Chelsea?
Yeah, I saw this movie on my anniversary. Great date movie. Highly recommend. Like you were saying, it's beautifully shot, all on 35 millimeter, and I have this incredible score and music by Z Berg. But I think, oddly enough, I'm the jerk that when we saw, like, I knew. Spoilers, obviously, if you haven't, even if you're listening to this whole thing, go watch the movies first. The minute I saw that he had like that, and I'm a little biased because I'm friends with Kyle Gallner. So, but the gun on his ankle, I'm like, oh, he's a cop. And I definitely called that she was the killer.
Really?
I did early on. I was like,
that's awesome.
And again, it wasn't like the first 5 minutes of the movie. It wasn't like that. But I was trying to think when I rewatched it, I was like, what was the moment when I thought, oh, it's her? I cannot remember. Maybe it's because honestly, so many people were like, don't watch the trailers, don't look at spoilers, don't look. I was like, okay, something is with this movie.
With your guard up. Sure.
Yeah. But also telling it in the non-linear fashion, I think is really interesting. I'd be curious to see a cut done in a linear fashion, sort of like how you can see Irreversible, like one way or the other. Not that you ever want to rewatch that movie, but yeah, there was a lot of. I thought it was a very smart movie as well, because I think JT also wrote it. Just sort of how we're getting the information, these sort of little, the structure of it, and. I think the best twist in the whole thing is what they're teasing with you when it looks like he's murdering her, and that you realize it's this role playing.
Right.
That to me was honestly like the biggest twist that I thought, oh wow, that's the one thing I didn't see. One of the couple things I didn't see coming.
That's that's in chapter 1. It goes 3-5-1, and that's the real first big switch. Unless you went in and you were able to figure it out with one word, the entire movie upends itself, and the word is harder. That's it. The entire movie is now about, oh, you're watching yourself watching this movie. Because I remember the first time I saw it, that slow-mo shot of her running towards the camera, bleeding as Love Hurts, like ironically plays. I remember that my first thought was, ugh. Like, do we just need another one of these exploitative movies reveling in hurting women? Like, I was just like, what are we doing? Love hurts? That sucks. Because she's just, she's clearly in a lot of pain and stuff like this. Going in, so I had the exact opposite of Chelsea. I went in just like, yeah, first movie I've ever seen. And so I was in its lap the entire time. And when she says harder, I was like, I get it. And I didn't get it, but I was getting.
I had not figured out the twist that she's the killer and he's the cop. But the sex scene I did figure out, and I wonder if it's a Vegas thing again. JT from Vegas and I'm from Vegas, but I've seen two, a classmate and then a student of mine at UNLV who have made that movie.
Really?
Yes, of where you think the guy is murdering or raping this woman, and it turns out that it's role play, and you find out through the safe word. so maybe it's a Vegas thing, but most people don't grow up in Vegas, so
sure.
I'll leave that out there.
Well, a lot of other people don't watch student movies, and so I mean, it's very much in the culture, or has been since before the Me Too movement. All of that was very much what is consent, because that keeps. If you're an older generation, you're like, can't do anything anymore. It's like, you weren't supposed to do that before. Just no one was telling you. Yeah. Pete.
So the rug pull here is the predator prey trope. Like we're familiar with predator prey thrillers. I really like this movie. I so appreciate the look and the feel of it. I too, I don't think I clocked, like, I am sure she's the killer and he's a cop. But I do remember from the trailer saying, wouldn't it be funny if, and it's the moment she says, are you a serial killer? Right?
Right.
I was like, okay, that feels like they're telegraphing something. I wonder if they're saying just the opposite because I'm a real smarty. And then it turns out she is. Now, I think the other piece that worries me a little bit is that a lot of movies that are told sort of out of chronology are movies that do it in such a way that require it to lift it to the sort of next plane. I'm looking at you, Memento, Tenet. Like, I'm looking at you, Christopher Nolan, and I wonder if the chapter structure. I would rather not see one linearly. I'd rather see one that doesn't telegraph with 5 bazillion point font that I'm changing chapters. I would like it to challenge me more and to have more faith in me as an audience member, to take it out of the Tarantino-esque bit and just show it to me. Let me see it when time changes and let me figure it out on my pace.
So not putting it back in order, but not screaming, we're going back to chapter 1.
Right. Don't tell me the chapters. Just show me the movie. That's the cut I want to see. I want to see how well I keep up with a movie that has faith in me to figure out the chronology. That's the puzzle I wanted all along. So the look is great, the feel is great, the performances are great. I don't mind that I don't mind the predator prey switch up. I think it's great, and it screams hand-holding to me in a way that I found a little bit frustrating on this is I think third watch of the movie. So that's me.
I'm trying to think what it would be like without a little bit of that hand-holding, and how confusing that might be. Like, that might be really, really hard.
Yeah. I think the transitions are pretty seamless, though, because like what you see, the way they're doing it, it's like, oh yeah, we're going back to that scene I saw before, like when she's in the freezer, and then you go back to when they enter the house. But I guess thinking it's hard to say, kind of like what Tommy's saying, it's hard to see it
now that
we've seen it already. Because
Right.
they felt seamless to me. But then again, maybe if you take it out, they're not. But
interesting, but it's a fascinating idea.
But you get my point. Like, I feel I maybe the answer is not just take out the title cards, but I don't think the title cards are the answer. I think the title cards make it less of a journey for me rather than more. And I don't think I felt that way the first time I watched it. The first time I watched it, I was just so blown away by the performances, and I love everything about it. And also, I didn't even think about the title cards until the second time. I was like, come on, Why are you screaming at me like this? Why are you screaming at Giovanni? Slow your roll. I get it. You shot on film. You put on your big boy pants. I don't need the big
Is
font.
that at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
Doesn't
The
it say
very
like in
beginning,
part?
yeah, it's a shot entirely on 35, and then Giovanni Ribisi's like,
Kilroy was here. Yeah, come on. It was great. You did good work, man.
And to your point, except for one of the chapter titles, which becomes ironically interesting, Can You Help Me Please? All the rest are pretty arbitrary. Here, Kitty Kitty, Mr. Snuffles, The Mountain People, Do You Like to Party, and Who's Gary Gilmore? None of those are interesting or informative.
They
the
mean
only one
nothing.
is Can You Help Me Please? So that's an interesting point. Because it's not like you're even waiting. Like the first thing he says is Here, Kitty Kitty. It's not like you're waiting on pins and needles for the kitty reveal.
Right.
I do have one big axe to grind
Ooh, let's hear it.
for this movie. And because I actually find I like the idea. I don't like the idea of the electric lady, but I like turning things like that. I do find it in a movie where she's like, how scary it is to be a woman, and women like casual sex, but you're not a serial killer. And then it's perversely empowering to have all the power in that situation. What I don't like, and where this movie does lose me and then I get back on, is when the cops arrive. Because when the cops arrive, the man cop correctly doubts a woman who says she's been attacked. And I get the reversal, and that's like, ha, and also like gross and not fun or funny. Like, not everything should be a turn. And I don't like the idea of we're mad at the female cop for saying, I believe this woman who is clearly something has gone on and needs medical help. I find that, and I feel a little soapboxy, and I apologize for that, but it feels weirdly irresponsible and not necessary.
Well,
to take that last step. I didn't understand why do that other than see men.
Do you remember how you felt at the end of Get Out when the police car shows up?
Yep.
Okay.
Loved it. Because it was
I loved it.
The idea of what's supposed to be help made your heart sink.
Yes. I think that's the same feeling they're going for here, right? I think they're aspiring for that feeling. We're going to turn you inside out by misappropriating support. And it doesn't play for me either. I struggle with it.
I also am wondering, like, we see him make the phone call. So we know something was said. He's like, I'm in a little bit of trouble.
I'm in a real pickle, but I guess we're supposed to assume that he didn't say anything else.
I guess, but also I don't think we see the entirety of that call. I think we cut away. So I'm like, well, if you show up, wouldn't you, if you saw the person who called you dead, wouldn't you assume, wait a second, something really bad is happening?
That's a really interesting hole.
That's a good point. He makes the call. I didn't even walk that through all the way. Why would he call someone to his crime scene?
Yeah. And so it's like, when he's like, oh, I got myself in a little bit of trouble. It's like, okay, well, how much did you tell this person? And clearly when they show up, they know, that cop should know that something is amiss from the phone call he got. Like, assuming I'm connecting the dots correctly.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. And also, I mean, and also as the audience, you know what is going on at this point. So you're like, oh no.
Yeah, I think, Chelsea, you missed the title card that says chapter 7.3, he's a goddamn cop. I think we missed that.
Shit, yes, I did.
Giovanni?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you tell me about that moment, because when the movie's really working, it is Aline Brosh McKenna talks about her Devil Wears Prada script as being about competency porn, right? Like, there's something really just fascinating about watching the Gallner as the demon. Even though he's the demon, he's the bad guy at the beginning of the thing, just watching him be really good at this, right? And then it flips, and then we see her being really good at that. And then I think that might be why that moment is so sour for us, because like, she really is good at that. That's a really good idea to do that. But then we think about all the implications of it. But yeah, so most of the movie, when it's really working, is just watching them and being really good at being cat and being really good at being mouse, and then flipping that. And that's very satisfying.
Can I just tell you the thing that I really stick on personally? The thing that I think about from this movie more than anything else. If I'm Kyle Gallner, the demon, and I'm standing in the middle of a yard, and I'm surrounded by frozen turkeys and chickens and stuff, would I connect that to the fact that she's hiding in the freezer? I worry a little bit that I would not, and that scares me. I think
well, you're a lousy cop.
I think I'm a lousy cop, or it's very troubling to me.
You'd be like, oh my God, free chickens and cocaine? This is like the best day ever.
Is this a creamsicle? God, thank God. I guess I'm leaving.
No, I was going to say, I'd still be somehow locked in my own hotel room. That's how bad I would be in this situation. Locked on the inside? How's that possible, sir?
I was just going to ask if anyone brought up the other twist is that she does it because she sees devils.
Right.
I was like, oh, we're not just a serial killer. We're obviously his name is RC, but he's credited as the demon.
The demon, yeah.
Oh, she's doing this because she's seeing devils, seeing demons.
Sometimes I don't see humans; I see devils. Yeah. And that adds, because she doesn't have a ton of an arc as a character, but I do like that there's a reason for her, that she seems very tired. Like at the end, she's like, I don't want to kill.
Yeah.
But I have to, because you can't just let demons run around. Like, it's like, what was that movie? Frailty. Like, if you have a certain type of mental disorder, you think you're doing the right thing, or you're doing what you have to do, supernatural style. But instead, you're just seeing. And so when she sees herself at the end as a demon, then I'm not convinced that she was taking out that gun to shoot the driver of the truck.
Right.
I think she was about to shoot herself, but the driver.
I have to say that final sequence of first the indigenous woman shooting her, and what a quick draw she is, outstanding, and her death in the car, that long lingering shot, is one of my favorite on-screen deaths I think ever. Like, it's just I feel her going through the sort of end of life judgment of herself and retribution and all of that as she just her body exhausts itself. I feel that performance is so weird and small and big and nuanced and grand and all of those things.
And I see relief in there too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
I think there's a chance, I'd have to watch it again, that she maybe clocked it by going through Dabda.
Yeah.
I mean, she was really surprised in the beginning, and then it seems like she's fighting against it, and then it's interesting. But yeah, no, I'm glad that they gave her that, where she's not just a sadistic person just to be sadistic. Well, no, I mean, she's the electric lady. Never mind. I can't. I don't know why I'm trying to give her accolades. She seems like
fighting for it, Tom. Keep fighting.
Seems like a super lady. Yeah,
I'm here for it.
Yeah. Anything else about this last movie? Because I think
you just muted yourself.
You are muted as our host.
Yeah, well done.
What if I came back as Pinhead? Do we have anything else that we want to say about this or the end? I just realized just now I don't really have a big conclusion other than these rugs. Am I right? These were all movies that are so. I love movies like this because to really enjoy them, you have to be a certain type of aficionado to really get the levels at which you're being played with. So it's not just, but instead it's like, you're rewriting the language that we have come to accept, that you can't have a dead person be friends to this kid the entire movie and then turn out to be a ghost. That's not allowed, because we've been with him before he turned out to be Bruce Willis. And so I just love things like this where, and then like Wes Craven's later movies, when to a lesser extent, but just commenting, once we start to realize that these movies know that horror movies exist, instead of ignoring them, it's just another level, which is really exciting and necessary, because we can't just keep telling, or maybe we can, to Keenan's point, the scariest story in this whole thing is the story of what happens to that guy, I think, in Ghostwatch. The most normal, ghost story, traditional ghost story, is really scary
Yeah.
to me.
Right.
Just someone hiding under the stairs. So, any last thoughts that you guys want? And then we were going to find out what our next episode is. Boy, oh boy.
Well, I'm really glad that you did this. This is a really good group of films, Tommy.
Thank you.
And yeah, so I know Pete voted for you to call them rug pullers over game changers. I think that's the right thing, because I think it's these three are very different from, say, like a twist ending,
Right.
or a mind F movie, right? That's not what any of these are. These are legitimate. We don't, when you told us this, like, oh gosh, are we going to go in this, and then it all turns out it's a dream, or one of the characters is in a mental hospital. That's
Right.
not what these are at all. These movies are playing fair, and then still revealing, and then saying like you think that you're safe. We're showing you all the clues, Mr. Policeman. Like, we're giving it to you, right?
Nice reference.
And you're not safe. You're not safe even there. Yeah. So I think it's different than that. I think you might have identified, a subgenre within a subgenre.
Cool. Oh,
I do
that's
too.
great.
I find it really, even with the axes big and small, I really find myself attracted to these movies. Like, I think the way they do what they do, the way they challenge format and genre and chronology, the way they make me question or doubt my own affinity to movies is the celebration, right? It's like you're challenging what I think I know about how to watch a movie. And I've seen a lot of movies, and I think I know how to watch a movie. And now you're telling me maybe I don't. And that's awesome. It's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. And I think like each of these movies is an onion. All the layers are there because, like you were saying, with like Kynan was saying about just being like a twist ending, there are so many rug pulling moments in each of these movies. And I think they all do them very, very well.
Yeah.
I think they all achieve that pretty perfectly. Like, I think most 95% of people not expecting are not going to know or guess or anything with these movies unless someone's like tipping them off to it. They, like I said earlier, they fit the brief so well.
Also, you guys might not know that the mother was played by Bruce Willis. That was weird. It was one of his last movies. Well done.
Oh my God. So good.
Did you see that happen? Did you see that's the biggest rug pull of all? You don't even know. So is it my turn? Do we get to talk about what's coming next?
It is your turn because you are
guys,
up next.
Are you ready to not think as deeply as we just thought today? Are you ready? We're going to do something that we've never done on this show. We have never taken a single franchise and looked at how the franchise arc works over time. And it's not my favorite franchise, but it does something that I think is interesting. As Tom made me call this soherence. I don't know what soherence means, but we're going to keep calling it. It's soherence : le destination finale. That's right. We're going to do Final Destination. We're not going to do all of them because there are two of them that I can't watch again. I won't watch them again. But I will watch 4 of them. And I'm sorry. This is not a triplet thing. We're going to do 4. Number 1, number 2, number 5, number 6. The thing that we're going to watch for is how effective these movies are at delivering us the horror experience when we don't have an observable villain. And I think that is kind of magical. The other piece is, as much as these movies, they're not all 5-star movies for me, but they low-key live in my consciousness. I walk around the world outside when I rarely leave my house, but when I do, I'm thinking about all the crap that could happen to me because of these movies. And I think they are important because of that. And so I want to hear what you think of these movies, 1, 2, 5, and 6. I'm very excited about this. And I'm sorry they won't give us enough to talk about, that's deep like Tom's, but I still think we're going to have some fun.
Final Destination's my favorite franchise.
Is it really? Oh, outstanding.
And you left
Chelsea.
out 3, which is hands down one of the best ones.
Oh, I
that's
can't
too
believe it.
bad.
Well, we're gonna have to fight about that.
But
Because
I know why you picked 1, 2,
Yeah.
5, and 6.
Good.
I totally understand
Good,
that
good.
for what this is.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, this is my franchise. I know the creator of it.
Oh my God.
I know one of the producers.
This is so good.
I'm gonna.
I'm
Wow.
very excited about
I'm on
this.
cloud 9 right now. Even if there's
Outstanding.
axes throwing like crazy, I'm here for it.
Outstanding. Well, especially with the opening logger scene in the first one. We got axes all
right.
day. It's one of the best. So this is going to be really fun. Can't wait to have that conversation. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
Pete.
Kynan, are you a Final Destination person?
No, I'm scared from the trailers. You talk about watching these movies and being afraid. I can't mow the lawn. Like, sorry, Mom and Dad, I can't mow the lawn. If there's ever been glass on the property, I can't do that. I can't go and get a tan.
Oh, well, and that's the thing. We are leaving out that one. So if you do want a bonus, number 3 is the tanning one.
All right.
So
That's
Perfect.
that,
So good.
I do. I made a choice, but it's going to be great. You guys are going to have a blast.
Mhm.
It's going to be really fun. So thank you. Do I get to, Tom, this is your show. Do you want to walk us
No,
out?
why don't you take us out? I like it.
I
I like
don't-
torch passing.
All right,
pulling
torch
and
is passed.
passing.
The torch is passed. Very excited. First, Chelsea, thank you so much for joining
Absolute
us, for sitting
pleasure.
in today. And I hope you
Oh,
will consider
wonderful.
coming back. That is my deep hope because you're wonderful and I really appreciate your contributions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved talking about all 3 of these movies.
Where do you
It's such a delight.
just for people? I mean, you already gave your bio, but where do you have? Where do you want to send people? Where do you send people to learn more about the great works of Chelsea Stardust?
Yes, everything. I only use Instagram. So at Chelsea Stardust, very easy. I don't do Letterboxd. I don't do any of that stuff. I post everything I watch on Instagram. I can only do one social media platform. So that is where to find me.
Outstanding. I only write letters anymore, so that's it. Real throwback.
I do that
Kynan,
too.
when do you start class again? Are you ready?
Oh God. Oh no, I have like 10 days.
Okay.
So,
Clock
I'm
is
glad
ticking.
I'm here with you all instead. Yes.
So glad that you are here, Thomas W.
Hello.
Oh man,
See you
it's good
next
to
month.
you. Well done today, Tom. Good job.
Thank you.
All right.
True pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time and your attention. Thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you do what you do with podcasts. Share them with a friend. Go tell them. If you want to leave us a rating or review, we'll take that, but only the good
Sure.
ones. We don't like that. I mean, good, put something nice in the world. And if you have a few bucks, head over to truestory.fm/join and support the family of podcasts that come from the next reel. You get access to the early and ad-free editions of all of the movie podcasts that we do. We would love to give you those in your very own member podcast feed and allow you to help us keep podcasting. We sure appreciate that. On behalf of Kynan and Tommy and Chelsea, I'm Pete, and we'll see you next month right here sitting in the dark.